You guys don't need to worry about me getting revenge from Diddy. I've got 3 moves that make sure he'll never be able to come after me or my family. First, I personally reached out to the victims' legal teams. The real reason he's not getting out is those buried cases behind the scenes. I provided legal funding for 7 victims who had been silent for years and brought in the top criminal attorneys in the country. Second, I bought up every potential post-release business deal he had lined up. I planned this 2 years in advance, so by the time he got sentenced and still had hope of getting out, every partner had already cut ties with him. Third, I don't just have evidence, I've got backups. This is an entire minefield that's been buried for 20 years. I uncovered every secret from the last 30 years. With testimonies from the victims, we interviewed over a dozen people he tricked, threatened, or violated. You think that's harsh? No, he destroyed other people's lives for decades. I'm just making sure he spends a few extra years in prison for it. I'm not afraid of his people, not afraid of his threats. I know he's still in there fantasizing about a comeback, but the truth is, he's never...
Welcome back. The spotlight has once again landed on 50 Cent, and this time it stretches far beyond the documentary itself, as he's revealed that his Netflix series on Diddy only scratched the surface of what his team uncovered with the 4-episode limit, forcing major findings, including a revealing detail tied to a personal connection to be left out due to time constraints. Instead of holding that material for another season, 50 has hinted that the unreleased information could be shared independently on YouTube after the series dropped, especially as even more people have since come forward with new details, leading some to question why he continues to push this story so aggressively. That question was recently addressed by comedian TK Kirkland, who dismissed the idea that this is about clout or manufactured drama, making it clear that 50's persistence is driven by something far more personal, raising the stakes and explaining why the story keeps intensifying.
All the women in the world that Diddy could have gotten with, he chose 50 Cent's baby mother.
It's a lot of variables to this particular question. Because I talk to a lot of people, older, younger, even my daughter, who's 22, she didn't understand it. So people give their opinion based on what they've experienced and their environment, people they've been around. So to the people that understand boundaries and respect, I always tell men you should never date another man's girl if you're not aware of it.
Made it clear that crossing that line represents a serious form of disrespect, explaining that he has always deliberately avoided any involvement with someone connected to a close associate because, in his view, it's an unspoken rule that should never be broken. He also pointed out that Diddy has no shortage of options, emphasizing his power, resources, and global reach, which only makes the situation stand out even more. From TK's perspective, this wasn't a careless or random move, but a deliberate one, especially when considered alongside the long-standing tension between Diddy and 50, making it hard to interpret the situation as anything other than intentional, and adding deeper implications to an already complex and escalating narrative.
Baby mother of one of his rivals.
Exactly.
Someone who had been taking shots at him for years.
Absolutely.
On purpose.
And he went after her knowing that they had beef.
Right. And slutted her out.
Slutted out.
Just slutted her out.
Slutted out.
Having a whole basketball team run a train on her.
Totally
and
did. I
just
totally
the whole
agree.
thing, right?
Totally agree.
Right.
But his reputation from when he worked at Uptown, I'll be sure's girlfriend.
Oh, Kim Porter.
Kim Porter.
Right.
That's his reputation.
I'll be sure his baby mother.
Baby mama.
Yeah.
Then Eric Serum, his friend, the one that had she had his baby, Mia. So he's had a reputation of going after people.
Tupac's ex-girlfriend.
He
got a baby with her too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my point that I'm making to the men listening, well, if you don't understand this, then you're just poorly educated and don't really have common sense. It's a no-no. There's no way I would go after Vlad's ex-girlfriend.
Right.
I'm so loyal that if I met a woman and she said, "Oh yeah, I stay Vlad," I can't f with you, man.
Right.
I won't even put my, excuse my language, because that's how I move. Other people don't move like that. But you see me in Paris, you see me all over the world. Why would I want to do that to mess up?
Even as 50 Cent's documentary continues to draw massive attention and widespread praise, not everyone sees it as a clear victory. Gene Deal has stepped into the discussion with sharp criticism, claiming that certain parts of the project weren't as original as they seemed and suggesting that some ideas closely resemble material he had previously shared without receiving proper credit. According to him, those moments weren't the result of fresh investigation but recycled concepts, raising questions about authorship and creative integrity. His comments have added a new layer of controversy, shifting part of the focus away from the documentary's success and toward how the story may have been constructed behind the scenes.
Interview about, he said that he had a lot of footage had to be down, the documentary had to be downsized. You understand? I don't really believe that, because a documentary is a documentary, and they could have had 45 minutes, they could have had an hour, to each one of those. You understand? They left out certain things. He said they even left out the one about Sarah Chapman. You understand? And for whatever reason, he probably left out a lot of other different stars too. Situations that they could have spoke about. You understand? I have a problem with the documentary, and I'm just going to let you know that the reason I have a problem with the documentary is that they know that they took my idea. You understand? They know that when I came to them, I laid out what they should do and how the documentary should be. You understand? She can say whatever she want to say. I talked to those producers before I even talked to her. They wanted to know what I had, what I was bringing, my pictures, all that stuff like that. And I told them about me, Tim, and Kirk. You understand what I'm saying? And how it would go. They did the same thing. This ain't the first time they stole from me, man. If you look at the Notorious Big, if you watch the Notorious Big, that part about the shoes, I had that in my book. And I was talking to K.O. Copeland. He was one of the writers of that movie. And I told him about when I let Big use my shoes at Soul Train Award. You had this old flunky ass dude, Mike B, get on Angie Martinez's show and talk about, yo, Big, he wore mixed max shoes and he went out there and performed. When you go look at the film, when you go look at Big performing that on that show, ain't nothing mixed match about them shoes. There was $800 Maury's, size 14D, Big World 14E. E means that his shoes is a little wider than mine. He struggled, but he put them on and he went out there and performed. Those was my Gators that he had on. You understand? They did a little skit trying to disrespect me in the movie. You understand? And they said something about,
which also addressed the growing speculation that 50 could release even more material online in the future, suggesting that if additional content does surface, there may be little anyone can do to stop it. From Gene's perspective, if there were a real way to shut down or suppress the documentary, it would have already happened, and the fact that it hasn't speaks volumes about where influence truly lies right now. To him, the project's continued availability sends a clear signal, raising serious questions about how much control Diddy still holds and how much of that power may have already faded.
And if 50 do another one, and I heard he's going to put it on YouTube or do whatever he's going to do, Puff ain't going to have nothing to do with that. Puff ain't going to have nothing to do to try to stop that, because he can't. Because if he could stop it, it would have been stopped. You know why he can't stop it? Because Puff know people right there at Netflix. Don't think he don't. And I don't know if this guy still worked for them, but he was part of the Flavor Unit, Shakim. He was part of the Flavor Unit. He was good friends. He was cool with Puff and them. Flavor Unit and them, Queen Latifah and them, they was cool with Puff. If Puff would have sent the cease and desist over there and they could do it and he had the power and they wasn't right, they would have been done it. You see, it's still rolling, right? It's still going on, right? He ain't got that power no more. You understand? Now, could he sue them because they use his likeness or use them and stuff like that? I don't know. I'm not that versed in they using him. You understand? If they can steal your whole damn idea, your whole damn ideal, why can't they steal your whole damn intellectual property?
Jane took the point even further, arguing that Diddy's interest in Tupac wasn't a passing curiosity or a momentary reaction. He described it as a deeply rooted mindset that lingered for years and quietly influenced how Diddy thought and moved. According to Jane, this perspective shaped behind-the-scenes maneuvers, informed major strategic decisions, and played a role in how Diddy navigated both his personal relationships and professional dealings. Jean added that this outlook didn't fade with time, but instead became a consistent framework guiding Diddy's behavior. In his view, it evolved into a defining force that influenced long-term planning and calculated choices. He suggested that the ripple effects of those strategies are still visible today, continuing to shape outcomes long after the original moments passed.
See the interview that 50 did with Sherry, and he was talking about he didn't release the video about Puff having a kid by Kim Porter's friend, Sarah Chapman. Now, we all know that she used to date Tupac. You understand? So either he got her because he wanted some remnants of Tupac. We don't know. But it seemed like every dude that he had some kind of disdain, dislike, or that he idolized in a sense, he wanted their girl. Or he wanted to be a part of their girl. I don't know why. Yo, bro, this dude was, I don't know if he was in love or in hate for Tupac. He wanted to be an actor. He auditioned for, I think he auditioned for Juice. But Pac beat him out for that Bishop thing. You understand what I'm saying? He wanted to be a part of that. Just go, and not so many years ago, when Puff started getting into that drugs and started using drug stuff, he started revamping some of Tupac's speeches. And if you think I'm lying, go look at the Grammy speech he did. Go look at a couple of speeches he did. It was the same exact words Tupac had said. That he was going to start this whole revolutionary of our people. That's Tupac. Black Lives Matter, the Black Liberation Movement, that was Pac. The Black Liberation Movement. Black Lives Matter? Come on, bro. This dude, everybody know that he had some kind of, I don't want to say disdain taste, but he had some kind of, I don't, jealousy of Tupac, bro.
Even so, the documentary has noticeable gaps, and one of the most talked about is its limited attention on Kim Porter. As Diddy's longtime partner and the mother of his children, she was undeniably central to his personal world and his public life. Despite that, her role in the story was reduced to brief mentions, leaving many viewers surprised by how little space she was given. Kim Porter passed away unexpectedly in 2018 at the age of 47, with pneumonia listed as the official cause of death. However, the suddenness of her passing has continued to spark public conversation and unresolved questions over the years. Given how closely her life was intertwined with Diddy's for such a long period, many felt her story deserved deeper examination. Skimming past her legacy made the overall narrative feel incomplete, underscoring a major chapter that remained largely unexplored and reinforcing the sense that key context was missing.
Diddy Kim Porter?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because of all the videotapes, because of the book, because of all the people she gave copies of her book to, or at least chapters, because of everything that she had on him, because of the tape that she used to blackmail him into a relationship and into a raise of him being sodomized by Andre Harrell. And I am not saying that allegedly, because I heard her and Kim Noor talking about it in the booth of the bathroom while snorting cane.
Was widely seen as being at the very center of his life, present for everything from intimate personal moments to major business decisions that never reached the public eye. Despite that proximity, the documentary barely acknowledged her influence or perspective. Several accounts suggest her story may have been intentionally avoided, possibly because it was viewed as too delicate or complicated to address directly. Gene, who says he knew Kim personally and supported her on more than one occasion, believes she was far more aware of what was happening than many people realized. From his viewpoint, leaving her voice out removed a crucial layer of understanding. Without her perspective, the narrative loses depth and feels noticeably incomplete, especially considering how deeply she was woven into the events unfolding behind the scenes.
Book, and that her book was about to come out. And she was talking about all the perils, everything that she went through in the music business and with Diddy. All the men that they slept with together, because there were men that they slept with together. There were swinging times that they slept with together. I don't know, man. How do you put your girl through some shit like that? Or how you look at your girl and knowing that she's another dude? What kind of demonic mind you have to be that far gone where that shit don't bother you? And got rid of them. They swimming with the fishes.
Wow, man. So she was about to expose all that in her book, them sleeping with men together.
She was going to expose everything. I heard it was tell all.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Just curious, right? Did you know that Diddy and Kim had that type of relationship back then in real talk?
Yeah. Yep. Because I know somebody personally that lives in Atlanta that was swinging with them. And I would never mention his name because he's a good brother. And he knows my family down there, you know, he knows my family down there. And, I would never, put his name out there like that. He's been in the music business. He didn't put a lot of groups.
Known of that context found its way into the documentary. Instead, Kim's presence was reduced to a few photographs and a brief mention identifying her as the mother of Diddy's children before the story quickly moved on. For many viewers, that silence felt especially striking given how central she was to his private and professional world. Someone so deeply involved behind the scenes being glossed over raised immediate questions about what was being left out. Adding to those concerns, Mark Curry has publicly described what he characterized as a troubling dynamic between Kim and Diddy. He alleged that Diddy closely monitored her private communications and reacted harshly when conversations didn't sit well with him. Mark recalled one incident in which Diddy reportedly became enraged after learning Kim had spoken by phone with producer Shakir Stewart, later confronting him at a public event and escalating the situation. According to Mark, moments like these suggested a controlling environment that the documentary never fully explored, reinforcing the belief that important stories and perspectives were intentionally left unexamined.
They just did a whole thing with the girl that he was dating was the one that was putting the wiretaps and all of that out. It was a clear case. She came, hey, I was the one who was doing the wiretaping and all of this, right? The tapping. So I knew about this before she came out and said that she was the one that was doing it. I was sitting there like, damn, he know everything she doing. He know her conversation. I'm sitting there like when I'm sitting there right there next to him, when I'm hearing them saying, this is what Shakir Stewart was saying to Kim Porter on the phone that made him mad. That made him so mad at Shakir Stewart when he went to L.A. Reid party, hit him with the chair. You don't think if he hit a man with a chair for dating this girl, they gonna have a fight at home too. You know what I mean? That's why, they say he busts her nose up on the boat. And have you ever been to Sandro Pay's here? Brother play a mandolay. Remember that was in this song? I need a good woman next to me. So then it happened in what was it, Sandro Pay? Like that island. And then he bust her nose. She said, they tried to make it seem like she slipped and fell. She slipped and fell and broke her nose. Nah, the truth was she slipped and fell and landed on his fist. Yeah, but that's what happens when you put your hands on females. I don't really have much respect for a man who's physically abusive towards women, man. I kind of think they be kind of suspect. I'd be like, man,
This omission appears to be part of a larger pattern, especially when you look at how the documentary skimmed past Diddy's notorious parties. For years, those events were rumored to attract powerful figures from multiple industries, yet the film offers almost nothing, no recognizable names, no meaningful background, and no real depth. That silence feels especially noticeable given how openly those connections were discussed in the past and how quiet many of the same figures have become now. The lack of detail doesn't feel accidental, but instead reads as another deliberately avoided topic, reinforcing the impression that certain conversations were intentionally left off screen.
All his celebrity friends that denounced those allegations and were like, "This is false," and they were saying, "Yeah, should they speak up now?"
It's getting a little too late for those who are complicit. Stevie J should be charged. Mary J. Blige should also be charged. Jennifer Lopez should definitely be charged. Jay-Z should be charged. Khaled should be charged. Rick Ross should be charged. Usher should be charged and tried with him. Off of Justin Bieber.
Jaguar Wright has taken the discussion beyond the music industry, arguing that the roots of Diddy's story were formed long before fame inside his own childhood home. She claims that during his early years, his mother was often preoccupied with a steady stream of unfamiliar people coming and going, creating an unstable and unpredictable environment. According to her, growing up amid that level of uncertainty can deeply shape a child's mindset, leaving impressions that don't simply fade with success. Jaguar believes those early experiences played a major role in shaping who he later became, well before the music industry ever had an influence.
Oh, and what happened to him in his own mama house. All of those strangers, them up involved, looking around, seeing what was going on. And let's just be clear, it sounds like her house was a house of, professional freak-offs. So who knows what he saw or what could have happened to him while she was busy entertaining people and pouring and getting tips, as she would say, for her after-hour life.
Oh yeah, he was. I'm gonna say he was surprised to hear that.
School bus driver. No, was he surprised or was he like, "Zip it, you talking too much"? Because that's what it looked like to me. It looked like you talking a little bit too much. They don't need to know about that. While she was sitting up there, because I was a bus driver and I was this, and I worked at the after hours. And I reported.
Jaguar also pointed out that Diddy has openly spoken about feeling pride after learning about his father's dangerous street-centered lifestyle, and she believes that reaction says a lot. From her perspective, embracing that image instead of critically distancing himself from it suggests how deeply those early influences were ingrained. She argues that it provides a clearer insight into how his mindset, values, and sense of identity were shaped at a young age, and how those foundations may still be reflected in his choices and behavior today.
Son's own words, and in Diddy's own words, he had said he had a sigh of relief learning that he was the son of a hustler or a gangster. Like he wanted that status. He wanted to say that he was a sigh of relief is a wild thing to say. That your daddy was a gangster or a hustler, that's what you heard that he was.
Well, I mean, like Tim said, they had a bunch of blaxploitation movies being played around the house all the time. They grew up with the Mac playing. They grew up with Superfly playing. Like, I mean, if that's what you got going on, you got two women in the house and there's no men around, and these are what the little boys are watching. You got basketball players coming over late at night. You got hustlers coming over, PIMPs coming over, women who look like they were modeling for Jet magazine coming over. Like, it sounds like the nature of the environment is what shaped their perception of what cool was. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure for him it was, oh man, that's who my dad was. So I'm sure for him, it made him feel good because all of that stuff that he was watching, he really came from that. But that was really his legacy. And yeah, I'm sure for him, it felt good to know that his dad was this big hustler who turned out to be a snitch, who got his brains removed.
Tish links that mindset to the way hip-hop culture later glorified larger-than-life personas, noting that many artists adopted names and imagery inspired by classic film characters associated with power, intimidation, and control. Jaguar argues that Diddy didn't just admire that image from a distance, but felt personally aligned with it because it mirrored the environment he grew up in. In her view, that connection went far beyond music or branding and helped shape his sense of self. She also touched on Diddy's relationship with his mother, describing it as unconventional and uncomfortable, and suggested there were deeper, unresolved dynamics involved, adding a chilling undertone to the broader narrative. She was laying out, including claims that he attempted to blur the line by projecting his mother's role onto Misa,